I'm Rob Conti. I'm with the General Land Office, and I'm not alone. So I have four other people here, or I don't have, four other people are here, and I wasn't really elected. I was appointed to give the talk this morning. So I'd like to introduce the four other people from the General Land Office. I'm just going to go left to right. From is in the orange shirt, and Conrad really manages the beach maintenance reimbursement program, and I work with him doing some of the technical review. Carly Bone has the Galveston area. She reviews all the applications. Doing a lot of our policy stuff, very key to the job. Angela Sunley is our team leader, and she has the Surfside area, and I've been dealing with the Nueces County area, and recently have, I guess, the honor of being adopted by Cameron County people too. So this is unrehearsed, raw, no pictures. I have a PowerPoint presentation, which I put together at about 5:30 to 6:30 this morning, somewhere around there. This is the first slide. And then I have a summary of a lot of the regulations, which is a Word document. I'm not sure how it's going to play out, but we'll see. And if there's questions in the middle of this, feel free to raise your hand. I'm sure that one of us five can answer or defer on answering. So we'll just give it a go, and it's all impromptu. Let's see what happens. GLO Perspective on beach maintenance, Sargassum Symposium. This is really going to be a talk on what the GLO has to review, and it's not complete because it was done very quickly this morning. But and it's just kind of an overview, and I'll try and touch on as many of the maintenance issues as possible. Beach maintenance is this working? I don't think it's working, John.
What's that?
Pointer? Is it got an on-off switch? Yes. No.
Does the red light come on? Maybe the battery played up.
It's got a buzzer, a vibrator. I don't know.
We'll reboot it.
No, good idea. I had a green one in my bag, but it's on the car. Here it goes. Thanks.
Maybe that.
Yep, that's it. Yeah. Okay, let me just see if this advances. Goes back. Okay. Beach maintenance is really year-round. Litter, debris removal from the beach, management of the beach. Generally through March, June, seaweed removal, and then I'm going to have to plug the General Land Office 3 times a year. The General Land Office hosts a volunteer beach cleanup event all up and down the coast. I think that last time I calculated, during the beach cleanup, they remove about an average of 1 ton of trash per mile on the coast, which is pretty phenomenal. Beach maintenance is done to establish safe and sanitary conditions, promote recreational activities, essentially atone for those who don't pick up their own stuff or the trash of others, and very importantly, to protect wildlife habitat. The practices must comply with Open Beaches Act, which I mentioned the other day. Can't make beaches impassable. Dune Protection Act. You can't weaken dunes or dune vegetation. Federal, local, federal regulations, local plans. Anything else you can think of? Anyways, there's a lot of things that practices must comply with. The impact of the grade and glom, which, as I described on Monday, is the concentrating of sargassum, usually in a mix that contains a very high percentage of sand on the beach and the natural line of vegetation. Deposition kills the foredune seaweed, face vegetation, weakening dunes unless the grades are moderated and become revegetated. The grading law method creates steep slope foredune faces under scouring and sediments, and it narrows the beaches and beach access if accretion rates of the maintenance dune face are greater than the accretion rate of the beach. Also, grading law also creates need for beach walkovers to project further out and seaward, which may further restrict beach access. Wildlife considerations, for the most part, as I understand it, and learned a lot during this session, have to deal with turtles and birds. Possible alternatives to seaweed management. A lot of these are my ideas, spawned by a meeting that we had last April with City of Port Aransas. Create temporary seaweed storage embayments and existing maintenance dunes, quarter, half-mile spacing intervals. Collect seaweed using mesh buckets. We saw that City of Galveston has been probably at the forefront of that. Store for decomposition, redistribute the decomposed seaweed between dunes and the high water line and beaches, and keep the sand and decomposed seaweed within a quarter mile of the collection storage areas, and generally move the sects of the beach with greater erosion rate or lesser accretion rate. Program to see if it's successful or it just doesn't work. I'm not going to read all of this to you, but the regulations that we have to deal with and the local governments have to deal with, are the beach dune rules. They address beach maintenance, cleaning or removal of debris from the beach by hand picking, raking, or mechanical means. This is right out of 15.2.9, which is definition. 15.7L, I guess, maintaining the public beach, and it specifies what the local governments have to do. I won't read all that to you. John is going to make this available as public information after the symposium. So instead of me reading it all to you, you can look at it then. Open Beaches Act is a key document. And in subchapter C, maintenance of the public beaches. It's the purpose of this subchapter to allocate responsibility for cleaning the beaches of the state and to preserve and protect local initiative in the maintenance and administration of the beaches. In other words, it's the local government's responsibility. Again, more Open Beaches Act, public policy of the state, that the public, individually and collectively, shall have the free and unrestricted right of ingress and egress to and from state-owned beaches bordering on the seaward shore of the Gulf of Mexico, if the public has acquired a right of use by easement to or over the area by prescription, dedication, or continuous use. And I get criticized for my long sentences when I write, but this is definitely a mouthful, but it's very, very significant that whatever happens, the public has to have access to the public beaches of the state. And cities have duties. I'm not going to read it all to you. The counties have duties. The state has duties. We all have duties in this. We got to all pull together. And I'm not going to read all this to you, but Conrad's deal, at least lastly in this PowerPoint presentation, is Conrad's deal where a city or county that seeks state funds under the subchapter to clean the public beaches must submit an application to the land office. It's almost like saying they have to submit an application to Conrad, and then all I do is I try and check the measurements of the beach to corroborate that the lengths of beach that they're requesting reimbursement for are accurate. Okay. Okay, John, here's where we get into here's where we get to the Word document. So I'm not sure how this is going to work. It might be a page up, page down. I don't think, it should be Conti 3. I don't think my clicker is going to work for this, so let me see. Oh, does it? Oh, yes. Oh, way cool. Okay. This is very long, so it's really the outline that I used to put together the PowerPoint presentation that I did on Monday. And it's mostly about Nueces County. As a matter of fact, it's entirely about what happens in Nueces County. A lot of it is redundant from Monday, so I'm not going to dwell on it. But some of the regulations at the end are probably a little more interesting, or going to add on to what I did on what I presented on Monday. Obviously, in Nueces County, we have 3 local governments: Nueces County, City of Corpus Christi, and the City of Port Aransas. And a lot of different issues have been identified. Local and state government entities have determined that the following impacts have occurred as a result of the current, or at least the 2000, sargassum management methods: wider dune fields, which is good; larger dunes offering enhanced protection against storm surges, very positive result. However, balanced by narrow beaches, altered fore-dune profiles, removal of sand from beaches, lengthened beach accesses at additional cost to landowners accessing the beach, longer dune walkovers, same thing, and then potential conflicts. And I have to stress it's potential, it's not a given that it is a conflict with the Open Beaches Act, Dune Protection Act, beach dune rules, and possibly local plans. We know that the sargassum deposits occur seasonally, generally March to June. Again, hurricane season, June 1st through November 30th. And the only reason I keep mentioning this is that this is the aftermath of the maintenance that occurs as a result of the sargassum season. And if dune vegetation have been weakened, it makes the whole dune protection system more vulnerable in the aftermath of the maintenance. And let's see, it's not really a time frame, but we would like to see some goals set for putting new methods, pilot studies in place by March 2008. I think we missed that one. But anyways, locations proposed. I call it corrective action because I came from 25, almost 30 years of doing hazardous waste management. So, sorry, I apologize for the term, but it's really proposed management. Identify areas from where sargassum needs to be removed daily. Identify natural fore-dune maintenance dune boundary. This is all proposed. It's something I would like to get involved in, using LiDAR data, other data, field observations, other historic information. Identify potential temporary storage areas in maintenance dunes. Identify the parameters used to pick temporary maintenance areas. I'm not going to tell you I believe this is applicable everywhere, but I think there are some stretches of the beach where temporary maintenance and redistribution of some of the material in the maintenance dunes onto the beach would be a good idea. And I'm not going to tell you which areas they are because I don't really know yet. Assess proximity to areas that need daily removal of seaweed. Staged removal of the maintenance dunes, as I just mentioned. Probably at about quarter to half mile spacing. Excavate bays and maintenance dunes. Not everywhere, probably only a few places. Excavate landward to natural fore-dune maintenance dune boundary. Excavated maintenance dune material moved to beach, landward to the high tides, and move sand, dried seaweed mix back to the beaches in direction of greater erosion or lesser accretion. Rules and statutes relating to beach maintenance. Current beach maintenance methods may conflict with Open Beaches Act, Dune Protection Act, beach dune rules. As I mentioned, all this beach dune rules by negatively impacting vegetation. weakening dunes, altering beach profile, altering the line of vegetation. Regulatory requirements, I'm just really going to go over some of the underlined stuff here, the beach dune rules. I bring in the concept of restored dunes on public beaches only because the process of creating maintenance dunes is somewhat akin to restoring dunes, or the mechanics of restoring dunes. Restored dunes may be located, only may be located farther seaward than the 20-foot restoration area only upon an affirmative demonstration by the permit applicant that substantial dunes would likely form farther seaward naturally. That's probably kind of difficult to prove, but that's what we're working with. Such seaward extension past the 20-foot area must first receive prior written approval by the General Land Office. In the absence of such an affirmative demonstration by the applicant, a local government shall require the applicant to meet the following standards relating to the location of restored dunes. Local government shall require persons to locate restored dunes in the area extending no more than 20 feet of the landward boundary of the public beach. Local government shall not allow any person to restore dunes even within the 20-foot corridor if the dunes would restrict or interfere with the public use of the beach at normal high tide. And my observations really dealt with extreme high tides. So as to whether or not front stacking, grade and glom, whatever you want to call it, interferes with public use of the beach is probably debatable. Local government, number 5 here, local government shall not allow any person to restore dunes using any of the following methods of materials. Sand obtained by scraping or grading dunes of the beach. That's very key because in some of the observations I made last year, that was the predominant process. Maintaining the public beach, local governments shall prohibit beach maintenance activities which result in the significant redistribution of sand or which will significantly alter the beach profile or the line of vegetation. We know that's happened. All sand removed or redistributed due to beach maintenance activities shall be returned to the area between the line of vegetation and mean high tide. So it's there. I mean, it's in the rules. It's not like we're making it up as we go along. General Land Office strongly discourages the use of machines, except during peak visitation periods, which disturb the natural balance of gains and losses in the sand budget and the natural cycle of nutrients. Okay, and then here's the Dune Protection Act. This is key. Conduct prohibited unless a permit is properly issued authorizing the conduct. No person may damage, destroy, or remove a sand dune or portion of a sand dune seaward of a dune protection line, which is generally here 1,000 feet landward of mean high tide, or within a critical dune area, or kill, destroy, or remove in any manner any vegetation growing on a sand dune seaward of a dune protection line or within a critical dune area.
Rob, let me ask you, how, given that number rule 63091, how did Tortuga Dunes get a permit to do what they did?
It was locally issued.
That flies in the face of the state law, it seems to me.
Well, unless a permit is properly issued.
Talking to the mic.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I can't turn this into debate on Tortuga. Okay.
No, I just
because I know we went out and we looked at it last night. It's complex, but we're going to try and get it. We're not going to try and get it. They are under an obligation to stabilize the newly constructed dunes back to the pre-1980 topography, state of vegetation, and they have secured financial bonding or financial assurance so that if if the developer becomes unviable and they go belly up, the money should be there to finish it. Probably, and I'm guessing the mechanics of that would be that the county would end up finishing the work by perhaps contracting the work out. I don't really know the details of how it would play out if the developer were to go belly up. Yes, ma'am.
That's already ruined, but what is to prevent it from happening again somewhere else? Another developer. Is that
Angie, please help me. I need help. Come on up here and talk in the microphone, Angie.
It's fine. It was a washout area anyway.
I sense we have disparate opinions here, so I'm going to let Angie here. You want that? Or?
I'll try my best anyway. I know that dune mitigation, when it starts, it looks horrible, which it really does, and I know it does. It is the responsibility of the developer to ensure. He usually has 3 years, but we monitor it all through that time to get it revegetated, any of that aspect. If the county feels like that developer is not meeting their end of the deal, they can contact us and we can help them. But we have to give them that due diligence that they will try as their best possible, that it was permitted, it was submitted to us, we reviewed it, the county reviewed it, they felt it was in compliance with their local beach access plan. We felt it was in compliance with a lot of the stuff we see up and down the coast. This may not be something y'all see here or used to here because you tend to have that 350 line, and generally they don't do any restoration in that area, but the county felt like it was okay. It was consistent with other things that we have. I mean, as long as they're going to restore it and do dune restoration projects in that area, then they can work all the way up to the line of vegetation. There's nothing that says that you cannot do that. Yes, sir.
A couple of comments. One about that, which I'm just going to say it and drop it and go on to something else. I went to a meeting a few weeks ago where a USDA expert from Kingsville, who is involved in restoring sand dunes, I believe on South Padre Island, told us that the two important sand dune stabilizers cannot propagate from seeds, but only by rhizomes, and they need to start out low and have the dune grow up with them. You can't plant them 20 feet high because their roots won't go down and stabilize it. So that would be sea oats and bitter panicle. So apparently, he says what they're doing won't work, and even if it does get vegetated on the surface, it won't be tied together by roots, the rebar of a sand dune. So that's a problem with that. What the other thing I want to mention is, you're not allowed apparently to destroy any dunes or vegetated dunes. I would assume that would include coppice dunes or vegetation growing forward from the dunes. This thing about not being able to build any dunes more than 20 feet further seaward, well, for instance, in the main part of Port Aransas, if you look up at the county near the pier where they aren't scraping, you'll see vegetation and vegetated dunes almost out to the high water mark. In the main part of Port Aransas beach, the floor dunes would have built naturally with coppice dunes on out at least as far as the outer line of traffic control posts in the time since Hurricane Allen eroded the dunes back. So all of that would have been natural dunes. I've got a lot of pictures where the city has scraped away dune vegetation and dunes growing out on the beach with vegetation on them. They moved 8,000 dump trucks of sand way below the mean high tide line a couple of years ago. They're trying to get, both cities are trying to get permits from the Corps to dump sand out below the high water line. So basically what I'm going to ask is, we have these state laws, however the GLO allows the cities to break them. About 10 years ago, somebody took a picture of a guy in a rented Volkswagen beach buggy who ran over a tiny clump of plants in front of the dunes, in fact, right near where I live. The city went after him, and he got fined over $1,000, and he didn't really even do any damage of any consequence. But the cities can go out there with heavy equipment, mow down vegetation, dump sand where it's not legal to dump it, and the laws plainly say you can't move it. It has to go between the high tide line. I guess that's mean high or high tide.
Depending on where you are, yeah.
But you guys don't enforce that.
It's really, believe it or not, since we have these new plans, the local governments are responsible for enforcing that. We can come in and help them, but generally they're the ones that enforce against the permittees, and we are the ones that follow behind and ensure that the local governments are enforcing their plans.
So if a local government does not allow someone with a state driver's license to drive in their city, that's okay with you?
No, it's specific to the beach dune rules and beach dune plans.
These are state laws.
These are actually our rules that we have, but it says without a permit. You can, anything can be done up to the line of vegetation so long as you have a permit and you are responsible for restoration.
Including mow down shrub coppice dunes that are growing with vegetation on them?
That's all up. It's up to the, I mean, we can't be down here every minute watching everything that does. It takes a local individual. If you notice things that you feel like aren't right, then you bring it up to your local, either Nueces County or Corpus Christi. And if you feel like they aren't going far enough and it's really causing a significant impact, then we can start looking at it, which is why we're all here. We all know that there are certain balances we have to have with the public using the public beach easement, developers that are wanting to build within it, and then you're going to have increased impacts and usage as development comes. I mean, it's all going to change. It's not something that is a fix for everything. We have these general guidelines that we would like everyone to follow, and we would try really, really hard to address each one. But like I said, there are so many different variables and different factors, and everyone feels very strongly about each one's individual ideas about it. But yet we have to come to some type of middle and all come together and try our best to do something that's going to work for each local government. I mean, I know that several of our groups would give anything to have beaches like y'all have and the dunes have, but they don't. They have really, hard times trying to balance the public's right of use of the beach and, the developers and protecting those critical habitats as well in dunes. It's very complex. It's not like we can all just jump on it and do something that's going to fit. It's not. We're just going to have to really work together and try our best to do it, what we can.
So, since the people I see picking up the sand in front end loaders and graders and dumping it in the water, since those are the local governments, the next time I see it, I call y'all?
You can call us if you feel like that they're not, and we'll try to work something out with them to come up with a better solution. But that's what we're doing now. We all know that the things that we're doing are impacting things one way or another. I mean, if we say we don't want to allow driving on the beach or we don't want to have the public access to the beach, then that's going to impact a large group of Texans that have the right to get there and use the beach. And the local governments are trying their best to maintain that public beach easement so they can use it. There's a lot of balances in place that go into that. And I mean, I realize there's a lot of different facets, but we really are trying to work towards something, coming here all together, going to try to work to really come to something. But yes, if you feel like there's something that you don't think that the local government is doing, then we definitely will help y'all out and look at it and try to come up with some solution. We really are.
The local government yellow machine.
Yes, I understand that. And we are aware of that, and we're trying. That's the whole reason why we're here today, is to try to look at that. And we are definitely going to go into a new process of, we have some rules coming out on the 16th, actually, with some new stuff that will be posted in the Texas Register. So, I encourage all of y'all to look at that, and there'll be more things that come out as we go. I mean, these rules are fairly new. Believe it or not, they're only like 15 years old. So this is all kind of, the Open Beaches Act and the Dune Protection Act has been around a long time, but these set of rules are fairly new when you consider the local plans, and everyone was, between 98 and 2000. So we're learning as we go. It's not going to be perfect, and each time we're going to try to take a step to make it better. I mean, they're not set in stone. We can change them, to try to make them as best we can. And this is just an original go at it, so.
Yes, ma'am. There are extensive discussions available over the internet in the city council. The city of Corpus Christi, you can just do a Google search. City of Corpus Christi official website, and punch in all the minutes, including the videos of these discussions. The district councilman for this area, McCutcheon's brother, is on the Dune Protection Committee. Is that what it's called?
See. It's the Nueces County Beach Management Advisory Committee.
Right, and so Councilman McCutcheon himself severely questioned the developers for what you're doing. And in the approval process and all this too, I recall that he brought up to them that, that bond, and as I recall, it's $50 billion bond.
No. 600,000.
I heard you say that yesterday, but my memory is...
That's Dave Sullivan, he's here.
Yeah, does anybody know that? 600,000. It's 600,000. Well, I mean, there's a lot of money in that development process. And when it comes to restoring the dunes, I don't know how much it costs to do it, but there's a bond there to do it, and a lot of critics and environmentalists are participating in that committee to protect the dunes. And I trust our district councilor is extremely environmentally conscious as well. Very much.
Can we get one more question, Johnny, and then we're going to continue on?
Yeah, I think we're looking at a situation of finger pointing here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the General Land Office has to approve the local governmental entities' permits.
No, we do not approve permits.
You have no veto power over a permit once it's issued by this county.
The only time that we can ask for a permit to be rescinded is if it was issued illegally and not inconsistent with the Open Beaches Act, Dune Protection Act, beach dune rules, and the local plans, local government's plans.
Well, let's say, for example, the General Land Office determines that quantity is not equal to quality in regards to a dune that is going to be restructured in some fashion. Can you tell the local entity that permit is not authorized?
It takes a significant event for something like that to happen. We generally will try to work with the individual or the permittee and the local government to try to get them on the road to do the best job they can. But there are instances that we have civilly sued people.
Well,
so,
as Washington just mentioned, we have experts telling us that you cannot build a sand dune that's 20 feet high or higher from scratch and expect it to be revegetated in a natural manner.
right.
If you have destroyed a natural sand dune and made it bigger, you can't recreate it at that location.
I agree with you, absolutely.
Would that be grounds for telling the city don't issue any more permits like that?
It could be if they want to, if the committee gets enough information together that they feel that that's a grounded idea, that it really is something that could significantly impact their area, then yes, they could adopt rules or something, change their local plan to that aspect for mitigation. I mean, like I said, the rules that we have are real general because the coast is so significantly different from one end to the other. So we can't rubber stamp everybody. But it's up to the local governments really to step in and say, well, this will not work in our area and we are going to have to find another way. And sometimes it takes something like Tortuga Dunes to really get that focus and that look at that to understand that, yes, maybe we do need to take a different perspective on that. We're not saying that, they're bad for doing that, but it really did open some eyes to things that maybe the local government here should consider that, absolutely. And we would definitely be willing to help them through a plan amendment or changes or something to address that issue. But that's them. They need to take that ground swelling up and change the policy within their area, for sure. And we are more than open to look at scientific data, anything that will support that.
Thanks. Let's put this back on Sargassum because we could turn this one into a huge.
Sure.
One more over here.
Both of you are absolutely correct, and so is the guy from Kingsville. But I'm also offering you a way that once an engineer says, "Oh, we'll just take all this spoil and put it into this huge pile, and then we'll plant some stuff on the top like it's a tennis ball," I'm offering you a solution that once you've made the bed, there's a way to get the biology in there so that you can start making the micro and macro aggregate out of the sand dune, which will give you the cohesion, because what you're missing in there is the fungi. But the fungi are so high level.
What his problem was is you don't get those 20-foot long roots. They can't go down from the top. They have to come up from the bottom, and the plants grow up with them, and those are the rebar that holds it together in a storm.
Yes. But I'm saying there is potentially a way to make a CBT to get the biology in there and then put it into that 20-foot tall dune so that you can establish it. Will never be as good as nature originally intended, but it would be probably far better than what's going on right now.
Probably.
And you guys are part of the solution.
Can we, let's start, make this part of the roundtable so we can move on. Thank you.
I really don't want to hog the time. Can we save, on this particular issue, can we hold some of the discussion for later on, please? But I do have to say that the front stacking or grading glom method, Richard, I'm going to direct this to you more than anyone, is killing the vegetation and the dunes also, where the deposits are made. And that's why when I first came down here last year and noticed what was going on, it immediately jumped out at me that there was an issue here. Let's see, how far did I make it? Dune Protection Act. Okay, I think we've probably just scratched the surface on the discussion of this so far. Open Beaches Act. Commissioner shall promulgate rules basically for the protection of the public easement from reduction caused by beach cleanup and maintenance. It's in there, and I know I'm not reading the whole thing here, but I think I'm getting the gist of it by my underlining. Enforcement. This is kind of a key issue too, because we get a lot of questions about who does the enforcement. Matter of fact, we get them from the local governments. Any county attorney, district attorney, or criminal district attorney, and this is from the Open Beaches Act, or the attorney general at the request of the commissioner shall file in a district court, Travis County, which is where Austin is, or in the county which the property is located, a suit to obtain either a temporary or permanent court order or injunction, either prohibitory or mandatory, to remove or prevent any improvement, maintenance, obstruction, barrier, or other encroachment on a public beach, or to prohibit, goes on. More Open Beaches Act, Subchapter F, removal of sand, marl, gravel, and shell. This goes back to the question part of the question of how much can you remove from the beach, and I think Dave Palmer really hit the nail on the head. He said, if this is private land, you need to work with the landowner. Legislature finds that the unregulated excavation, taking, removal, and carrying away of sand from the public beaches constitute a substantial interference with public enjoyment of the Texas beaches and a hazard to life and property. We have to work with this on a daily basis, so we have to consider all of this. And this is why I want to show you all or not all, but some of the relevant information that pertains to a lot of this discussion. Application of beach maintenance. Okay, and these are my thoughts. Identify which areas will need daily or other frequency seaweed removal. I mentioned a lot of this Monday. Parameters used to evaluate the impact on critical habitats or endangered species need to be assessed. Define methods that, if used to manage sargassum during the peak season, will minimize altering the beach profiles. And we could see in that area, as an example, south of Lost Colony, north of La Concha, beach profile has been altered, making it more vulnerable to high tide incursion. Define criteria that would have to be met in order to remove sargassum from the beach. For commercial use, a lot of potential complexities there. Allow for vehicle access. And then there's I won't call them setbacks, but it may not park within 25 feet of the water. A lot of this is up to the local beach dune management plans. Identify alternative methods for sargassum management in whichever areas. I really stress that one method is probably not going to work for all areas. So the methods should, but any methods, all methods should comply with the Open Beaches Act, Dune Protection Act, Beach Dune rules, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality certification for water quality impact, federal permits from U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, local plans, which would be under the other. I really should have listed them here, but anyways, local plans are very important. List pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages of each method, identified and considered, identify what permits are needed for which methods. This is just more of the same stuff that I've been talking about. Perhaps where it may be appropriate, moving the sand from the maintenance dunes to the beach area. I think this is a key concept here, is whatever happens, and I guess we've sort of been informally monitoring the progress and the result of the front stacking or grade and glom. I would suggest monitoring for a minimum of 3 years or long enough to generate data that would indicate if the chosen beach maintenance option achieves the goals of abating beach width decreases caused by combined effects of beach erosion and foredune accretion. Observations and results should be summarized. Effects of beach erosion and foredune accretion. Observations and results should be summarized. No sargassum sand removal. I read about this, and it was interesting. I don't know how much scientific basis there is to it, but an example of a successful outcome of no sargassum maintenance was, it came out in the, I think it's Galveston County Daily News, November 19th, 2007. It said, no sargassum maintenance for 10 years has resulted in the creation of a 17-foot high dune, and beach elevations has increased by 6 inches, which is significant. The only beach on the west end that is not washing away. Okay, reassessing the hardware used. Generally, we've seen graders, front-end loaders, use of rock buckets, which is, again, what Galveston really the city of Galveston really turned me on to when we were visiting in October last year. Mario had shown me some literature, and I've Googled it a little more. There's a lot of different possibilities out there. Snowblower type equipment, I showed on Monday, kind of a fuzzy picture I had of it. I think they're actually moving peat or tar sands or something. I'm pretty certain it was not sargassum, but it should be explored, see if it works. Beach maintenance storage areas, I think I've beaten that one to death. Let's see, yeah, it's more of the same. Move from areas, if temporary storage areas are used, move from areas of greater accretion to areas of lesser accretion or in the direction of greater erosion. And I think this is one of the more interesting possibilities, especially if all the complexities and potential legal issues could be worked out. Seaweed removal for conversion to beneficial products include ethanol, soil conditioner, nutrient. I just learned soap, which is way cool, I think. See, then I had mentioned earlier about the historic attempt of using sargassum as fertilizer in the 1950s was hurt by salt content of sargassum used for the nutrient. I learned this at one of our Coastal Bend Bays Foundation forum meetings on October 8th. Also, the issues of how to remove all sand from the product before taken from the beach, identify and analyze associated financial aspects, legal aspects, the whole array of different considerations that need to be pondered. If removed by a public or private entity, obviously we need some kind of pilot, demonstration required. Sand removal would disqualify our proposed method. That is to say, if it could not be done by leaving all the sand in place, that would probably be a strike against it, and identify all permits, certificates required. and then this is kind of interesting. I used to work at TCQ for about 20 years or so, and somewhat familiar with some of their rules. But composting is regulated by 30 TAC, Chapter 332, composting. If private entities remove sargassum from beneficial use, does the local government have to go through the bid process? Do permits have to? These are just examples of some questions that could be asked. Do permits have to be given to anyone who wants to take it off the beach? Probably some sort of surety that no sand would be removed from the beach. Keep going back to can't remove sand from the beach. Then under 332 D1A, operations exempt from this has to do with composting from facility notification, registration, and permit requirements include operations that compost only vegetative materials under 332.3 D2, which are mulching operations. TCQ website states, if you compost, mulch, or land apply, or except for composting, or except for composting, mulching, or land application, only source-separated vegetative material, your operation will be exempt from permit, registration, and notification requirements, provided it complies with 30 TAC 333.D. And I looked that up, and in general, if you're just composting pure vegetative material, it looks like it's almost a free ride regulatorily. So, but please don't quote me on that. I know it's being taped and everything. But.
You didn't see a limitation of where that could be composted. In other words, you could take it off the beach. You could take it off the island. There's no. Would that be where that would be located?
John, it requires further research.
You get the attorneys to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then here's a website here. Again, this will, when it comes out in the compendium, electronic, physical, whatever, or if you can write fast, I can leave that up there. Well, I'll entertain a few more questions, and otherwise, I don't want to hang up the program because I know there's a lot of other activities going on. Yes, ma'am.
If we picked up a big wad of sargassum and shook it out real well, and took it over to rinse and make tea or whatever, and the water going through it made its tea, and at the bottom of the pan is sand, can we bring the sand back? I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but I only laugh because it's a really profound question, and I'm just a geologist. Inevitably, we get our attorneys involved, and that would be one of those situations, I'm certain. Yes, sir.
Rob, I was wondering if you see a lot of this as a basis for developing EMPs for beach management. It seems like every part of the coast has a different situation, so that would have to be considered.
Yes.
So you repeat it like EMPs would be a very good thing to develop.
The question is, and correct me if I'm wrong, are all of these regulations a foundation for best management practices? And my opinion is yes, they would be not only a foundation, requirements for. They are, there's Open Beaches Act, Dune Protection Act, Beach Dune Rules, local beach dune management plans. There's an array of regulatory considerations that need to be weighed before anything happens, really. Yes, sir.
I'm really interested in trying to do this, and I think that this season, that we need to start some kind of pilot composting program to see if we can actually do something with this. Now, I have the machinery available that I could take the fresh seaweed and tumble it and remove the sand, and then if we have trucks going back and forth, and on those return trips, they can take that sand back to the beach. You know, but if we're going to be hamstrung that you can't do anything with the sargassum unless you actually do it on the beach, that's going to remove a lot of potential from this. And what I'm hearing from Jennifer, reinforcing some of the things that I've learned, there is a way out of the forest, but we need to get some kind of dispensation on this. And, you know, I understand it needs to be regulated to ensure that it does come back, but that's a problem, you know. If you get this developed, that what needs to happen is there needs to be a staging area for this stuff to be reduced by just simply laying there or chopping it up and exposing the internal moisture, so that if you truck it off, that you're not trucking 90% of it, it's going to evaporate anyway. You need to be able to do something.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you're saying. That's why we're having this symposium. We're just starting to, I think, look at the details of how to do various things with the sargassum, and I don't really have a good answer for you. But I think I think we should keep moving in that direction towards, let's develop something whereby we're in compliance with everything that we have to comply with. And my guess is that we're a lot of very brilliant people in this room, and that somebody's going to come up with a solution. So let's keep plugging in that direction. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Carney. I have a math question. If you can't drive 25 feet from the dunes, but you can't drive 50 feet from the water, but then only 75 feet is the minimum requirement to be able to drive on the beach. Unless you have a microscopically thin and long vehicle, how is that? Well,
as soon as you go into the microscopic scale, I don't think I can answer it there. I know. I don't have an answer for you. Richard?
That's obvious. You're not allowed to drive within 50 feet of water, but you can park within 25 feet of it. So you obviously have to get out and push your car up there and then push it back to the driveway.
Richard is a man of experience of getting cars stuck in the beach, is what I understand. So he knows more about it than I do.
Anybody else? Thank you, Rob. Appreciate that. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about